This place isn't a paradise. It's a prison. Out here, we're trapped.
We're free.
In this endless, eternal cycle.
Nowhere to run to, baby. Got nowhere to hide.
My life's purpose is on this island.
And I can't let this go on any longer. The more days I repeat,
The longer that I'm out here,
the more certain I am.
of what I have to do. The only way to protect the cycle
The only way to break the cycle
is to kill you. Time is on my side.
When Deathloop was revealed to come to PS5 and PC back at E3 2019, with this trailer, it had my mind racing. A new IP from Arkane Studios? And look, they're even advertising that they are the creators of Dishonored. The trailer shows you a decrepit and gritty world where anarchy rules, and there's even some sort of scariness factor built into it. The announcement trailer really made you feel like you're about to dive into another world when you play Deathloop. In the gameplay trailer for it, you could see someone play cold and trying to be stealthy, going over rooftops, taking out enemies by jumping onto them and such. It looked like classical Dishonored gameplay, at least like in its gameplay loop. You go around, you explore the world, you find some secrets here and there, maybe some opportunities or some side quests. My imagination was running wild just with the thought of what Arkane has already done with games and what they're about to do. Let's briefly talk about the Dishonored series. It's a first-person immersive sim with a mainly melee focus. It's marketed and mostly being played as a stealth game, but it can be played how you want. As far as I'm aware, it was one of the few games that year that tried to bring immersive sims back. Immersive sims in themselves are great. Instead of giving you a linear path to go down or an open world to explore, you usually get multiple open levels you get thrown in and got a goal to fulfill. The rest is up to you and the arsenal the devs handed you. Dishonored in particular didn't just have great gameplay with it, but also a dang great story of betrayal, corruption and intrigue. It also had systems that let you monitor your playstyle and even changing the world around you depending on it. For example, you had a chaos status, which means if you kill too many people, the overall chaos will rise, leading to more deaths due to the plague ongoing in Dunwall, leading to more reapers and other dangerous creatures. You could also just have picked up an item or placed something somewhere and all of a sudden in the next level something is different. It really motivated the player to try everything. So, coming back to Deathloop, Arkane really made it seem like it was going to be another open-ended immersive sim. They even put the tag on it on Steam. But when I got the game in late 2021, I got hit in the face with sad cliches to go around the whole gaming industry lately. Starting the game, you see a woman trying to kill you. The conversation between them points out that the protagonist has some sort of amnesia, not knowing where he is and what's even happening. Following that, you wake up on a beach, thinking all of it was a dream, until some floating text appears which the protagonist seems to also see. After crawling through a completely empty level, you stumble upon your first enemy, being no threat at all and giving you an opportunity to try out stealth killing. Here was the first time I noticed they had taken away a simple action from me, knocking out enemies instead of directly killing them. Sure, this has no direct downside to it. you just get to lethally take down enemies. But even this small detail made my Dishonored loving heart really sad. It was just another fun way of dealing with enemies, especially in the second Dishonored where they implemented drop knockouts. Continuing the introduction, you go into Juliana's house and flip a switch it jokingly tells you not to pull. Well, this sounds like a choice right here. Let's see what happens if I just wait. That's right, Juliana tells you to just flip it.
Way out of pocket. What do you gain from that?
Anyways, she pulls you up through the window and then lets you jump down to your own death. But another cold catches you, revealing that there are multiple colds. Now this could have made for great side content, but really the only thing it adds is that you get to see a few other colds throughout the world, and I even got the feeling that they're bound to your story progress. After the other cold lets you fall to your death, you wake up on a beach again, but this time your cold has a bit more knowledge over what's going on compared to the beginning. I guess this is supposed to show you how dying works and is implemented, but I feel this is really misleading, as you'll get to know why soon. So you go get the hackamajig, god who named this shit, and this time find the code on the back of the card.
You serious?
So all of this was just for nothing. You didn't really get a chance to try combat, see anything new of the world, or even try out any real weapons. You didn't even get mentally challenged. Like, damn, at least hide the code somewhere and let me look for it. Don't let me run in the exact same place and all of a sudden it just works. But fuck it, moving on. You find a slab which just morphs onto you? I don't know, I just know that this ain't no outsider's mark, but it has almost the exact same powers. And with that, we're coming to my favorite part in an Arkane game. The iconic tutorial. It's always been a staple of Arkane games to have a lengthy and completely scripted in-menu tutorial, explaining each part of the UI in detail. With the exception that they don't. Dishonored, nor Prey, and not even Arx Fatalis had this type of restricted tutorial. It's really fucking bugging me. And it's not like it's just one screen before you start the game. You go through an entire loop, being forced to equip trinkets or abilities, and then getting pushed into a level of their choice. Which really boggled my mind, seeing how there are only 4 levels and you get forced to play through them at least once before you really start your own game. Meaning the magic a level has when you first see it is gone with the second you get forced into it and later realize there are only 4 of these levels. Sure, there are also different times at which you can visit these levels, but it is still the same level. To be fair, Dishonored kinda did this too. You had about 4 to 5 different levels, but 1 to 2 set pieces of a map got reused. Still, it just shows the lack of true content in this game. Now, as I don't really want to go through every level and detail in Deathloop because there is so much backtracking and little clues you gotta pick up, plus my hard drive doesn't really have enough space anyways. I just wanted to talk about a few things randomly. So this is your last chance. If you're still interested in this game in any type or form, please go play it and then come back to watch, as I may ruin your experience with it. Deathloop in itself is still a good game. It has a lot to offer and plays very well. It's just that in blank comparison with their old work, some things just stick out. Now that hopefully everybody that does want to play it beforehand is gone, let me show you how Dishonored starts out. You get to Wrenhaven River. The gods are indirectly telling you that you're Corvo, the Empress's bodyguard who's been gone on a mission in cause of the plague. You get greeted by Emily, the Empress's daughter, wanting to play hide and seek, which is actually just a simple stealth tutorial but masked in world building. After that you can either fuck with Sokolov.
What are you doing? I need the bottle to draw the eye away from Campbell. I suppose I could... Corvo, please. I can't see him.
Or go to the Empress. She'll get attacked and it gives you a brief chance to try out combat. Even though you tried your best, she gets killed because you're held back by some strange powers. You then get framed by the same people not guarding the Empress in the first place and get thrown into jail. Here is where your playground first opens up. Leaving the cell, the game tells you that you can either kill with a sword in hand or take them down non-lethally. It even tells you that the non-lethal way has benefits. You can then also decide if you want to bother with the first guys at all, as you can sneak around the pillars and slip by unseen. You then proceed along through the prison, get a bomb, and blow open the main gate to escape. Moving further into the series, you hear gods talking to each other, and then this happens. Giving you implication to avoid these rats at all costs, which is done also very well. They didn't even have to hit me with a pop-up saying that rats are dangerous, because I just saw them eating up 2 dudes. Great! Then I must have been struck by how good the sounds were, because I just ran around for 2 minutes. Moving past the gate, you do a neat rat puzzle and get introduced to tripwires. These are hidden traps, shooting explosive arrows at you when you trigger them. You then continue moving through the sewers, get some equipment that's been left there for you, and have to sneak past a few guards afterwards. At the end you meet Samuel, bringing you to the Hound Pits pub, where the game really starts out. Now that we briefly talked about both games, I'm sure you can see where I'm going from here. Dishonored start is just mystical and makes you wonder what else is out there to explore, and we haven't even touched the powers of Dishonored. It just gives you much more freedom and choice in the first minutes of playing. In my opinion, Arkane should have let Deathloop in the oven for a few more months. It's a good starting point overall, getting thrown into an unknown world, having a protagonist who doesn't remember anything, giving you as a player the feeling that you're getting to know everything together with Colt. But at that part I really gotta say, I'm kinda sad that Colt is a voiced protagonist. I haven't quite elaborated on that in the Dishonored part of the video, but in the first Dishonored you're mute. You're still a character in this world. Emily, the Empress and even the Royal Guards all react to you or call you by your character's name. Sadly, they already dropped that in Dishonored 2, giving Corvo and Emily voices, but in that game they compensated that by delivering unique lines between the two and even for some secret spots or interactions you go through. A mute protagonist can do so much for the player's imagination. Having a character not respond to certain things in conversations or other encounters lets you fully immerse in the character itself, as you're really the one deciding and feeling your consequences. Lingering in the dark, stalking your prey, you can fully embrace a side in your protagonist that wouldn't be possible if he mumbled all the time. But speaking of Deathloop, I get why they did it and why it would have been difficult to do so otherwise. Also being a multiplayer game, it would have been hard to implement the online features if there was no real narrative given between the two. On the other hand, they could have just given all Colt and Juliana's a voice except for the players, letting you sympathize with them more. The gameplay of Deathloop is pretty similar to Dishonored 2, in the way Colt can be controlled, but stealth, exploration and in some ways even combat had to suffer. I don't know how or why, but Deathloop's stealth system is so strange that I can't even quite describe it. Sometimes it works as intended and other times I had enemies seeing me from the other side of the map. Dishonored had really great vision cones, meaning that the AI would really see through their eyes. It didn't depend on which direction they are facing, it depended on where the enemy's head was looking. I feel like they took that out of Deathloop to simplify things or just so they don't have to animate other positions for the enemies, as they just stand around still when they're not doing anything special. The exploration of Black Reef, the island Deathloop plays on, is also really at the bare minimum. In Dishonored you had vents, windows, secret doors, or even some destructible objects in front of secret ways, all scattered over the map, making me believe still to this day that there are ways and secrets I haven't even found after 10 years of playing it over and over again. As for the combat, I gotta say, it was a risky move to put this game onto the Void engine. Just as a disclaimer, I'm no expert when it comes to game engines, so this is only speculation. But I think the Void engine was mainly built on melee combat, as you usually sword fight in Dishonored and had several one-shot ranged weapons. Even the enemies only shot once after aiming for a while, so I think it was really counterproductive to turn it into a full-fledged shooter. Shooting and aiming works like a charm, but once you really get into a gunfight, it's really hard to find cover while enemies are almost aimbotting your ass. I'ma put all the little things to the side now, as I could probably rant about them for hours. I'll get into the real meat now, the overall game progress and included story. Going through the game, you're supposed to explore each level at a different time to find clues leading you to some main objectives. Your overall goal is to kill 8 targets in one loop, a loop being 1 day cycle consisting of 4 daytimes. At first I thought it didn't matter in which combination I killed who, but later revealing to me you actually only have one way to finish the game right. So your whole gameplay loop consists of dropping into a level, killing a few guys, collecting something, and then it's off to another level, or you have to restart the loop again because you need to go somewhere at an earlier time. This wouldn't be that big of a problem if the levels were truly dynamic, giving you some random new things here and there, but really the only new things a level adds throughout the playthrough are new places that you couldn't reach before because you missed a code or had to pull a switch somewhere. Given that you have collected enough clues and have found a way to kill all 8 targets, the game lets you then jump into a rocket ship that it teased you with for hours from now, making you think there is some big boss fight or map still ahead of you. But when you arrive, you meet Juliana in a weird room, they talk a bit, and then you can get 3 different endings by just deciding when to pull the trigger. Before researching, I didn't even know that there are multiple endings. I just shot Juliana when I could and thought that was it. I'm no fan of backtracking and doing things repeatedly without any feeling of progress. I just find it nonsensical to go through all these loops again just so I could press R2 at a different time. Overall, Deathloop ain't a terrible game. It's just that when they're advertising this to be an immersive sim, it shouldn't lack in any gameplay or story depth. It's just gotta have at least one thing that binds the player to the experience. The lack of any other way to kill your targets, the visionaries, is also just unfathomable. I had really hoped for Arkane to go all out on this game, seeing how this game's idea originated from Prey's Mooncrash, and then comparing those two would even be more of a disgrace. They could have at least implemented some other form of elimination for all these targets, or let me manually tell them where to be in the next level by sending them an anonymous message or impersonating someone. In bland comparison to their old work, Arkane has really dropped the ball with this one. From the lack of good stealth systems, a nice lore attached to the world, and an overall not great gameplay loop. And I think I'm right when I say that if Arkane didn't strictly advertise this game with Dishonored in the back of gamers' minds, me and many more would have enjoyed this game for what it is. When I first saw the trailer to this game, I was stunned. I hoped so hard for it to be a new, intriguing world built from the ground up. I wouldn't even have cared if they leaned on Dishonored being in the same universe, which they actually kind of do with the pistols they use in the ending. Yet they have given us a game that feels like it has a lot to offer, but ultimately it's just a linear game in which you can also decide to do something useless. Thank you for watching my little rant on Deathloop. I'm aware that this video won't be for everyone due to its low quality and my amateur editing skills. I still wanted to make this video for quite a while, just slightly comparing Deathloop to its predecessor. This type of video is something completely new to me, so I hope that it was bearable at least.